I did like how the town was like a microcosm of the U.S., where you had like the right wing people saying like the hippies, tore my sign down, and I think even the wife was like Antifa.
Welcome to A Cast with No Name. We are your hosts. I'm Jay.
And I'm Matt.
This is episode 67. This episode, we try to hide our true selves as we review and discuss the most highly rated, according to Rotten Tomatoes, video game film adaptation, Werewolves Within. But first, don't forget to visit our website, acastwithnoname.com, where you can find our entire episode library. Plus, you can also find us on Spotify and Apple and YouTube. Please leave us a like or rate us or whatever you can do on those platforms. It helps out the show find new audiences. But yeah, Werewolves Within.
Yep. Top-rated video game adaptation of all time.
Do you know anything about the video game?
Nothing.
Me either. I had to look it up
because
I've never heard of it. I thought it was maybe like a obscure NES, Super Nintendo kind of game, but apparently, not apparently, it is. In 1996, a VR game came out for Microsoft Windows and PlayStation 4 called Werewolves Within, and it's kind of based off of tabletop games like Werewolf, where you try and discover who the werewolf is. So It's kind of like not dinner theater, but you kind of sit around a group of people. But the VR game, the same kind of thing. You sit around like a campfire or something, and you can speak with people around the world because it's actual people that you're playing with, and you try to deduce, because they get shown who they are. And one person knows they're the werewolf, so they're trying to hide it from everybody else. So you kind of have to pick up on verbal cues or reactions to what other characters are doing. And there's some things that you could do. You could whisper to another player, and you could see that happening in VR if you wanted to whisper to another player. But I've never played it.
I haven't either.
So
it's like Clue or something, huh?
A little bit, yeah. It's just kind of like a whodunit. I'm assuming. So
I saw that it was Ubisoft too in the opening credits.
Yeah,
Assassin's Creed fans out there.
Yes, and but yeah, they announced the adaptation in October 2018, and they created a movie. I think it came out in 2021 during the pandemic. So it was probably. I mean, I had never heard of it. I had a couple friends who had already seen it, and but yeah, so because we were trying to decide what to talk about at the PopCon Indie, and we were kind of throwing it up in the air between this and Oppenheimer.
Yeah,
and we chose Oppenheimer because somebody air raided your lawn and killed your internet.
Yep. That's exactly right. I wasn't able to see it.
So
more people have seen Oppenheimer anyway than this movie.
Yep. So
first impressions, what'd you think?
I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
It's only an hour and 40 minutes. Mm-hmm. It's funny. It's mainly lighthearted, but it kind of uses some of the comedic / horror elements that Edgar Wright's pretty well known for. Like there's they do a couple of either jump scares or something like that, but usually to a comedic end, similar to like Shaun of the Dead or Hot Fuzz or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I thought of. A lot of the jump cuts and everything, and I don't want to say overacting, but over dramatization of the given circumstance.
Yeah,
they reminded me of Edgar Wright a lot.
Yeah, really jumping to conclusions, and then also just overreacting the situation. Characters just acting batshit for the sake of acting batshit.
Yep.
But yeah. Well, before we get in, would you recommend it?
Yeah, I thought it was fine.
Yeah. Yeah, if you
I haven't watched a ton of video game adaptation movies.
Mm-hmm.
Would I say it's the best one? I couldn't say that with any confidence, but it's a decent movie. You know?
Yeah, and it's a fun movie. You wouldn't know it was based on a video game.
No.
It's very loose. The premise of the film is these people are kind of snowed into this town, and shit starts going nuts, and they try and figure out who's behind it.
Yep.
More or less. Well, let's get into. I mean, I recommend it too. I mean, it's a fun movie.
It's on Hulu.
Yeah,
If you have
it's on Hulu.
give it a watch.
Yep. Especially if you like kind of comedy horror or whatever. Yeah, let's get into it. It was directed by Josh Rubin. Don't know what else he did.
No, I don't either.
But it stars Sam Richardson. You're never going to know what else he did because...
He's in Hocus Pocus 2 that we reviewed not that long ago.
Oh, Sam Richardson? Yeah. I remember liking him in Hocus Pocus 2. I think he was one of the better parts. It also has Melina Weintraub, AT&T girl.
Yeah.
Not Flo, AT&T girl.
Yeah, not the progressive
Yes.
lady.
And then also has Harvey Guillen? I don't know. He's in What We Do in the Shadows. He plays Gizmo, Guillermo.
There's 2 Orange is the New Black alums, too, I noticed.
Oh.
I used to watch that show. And,
I did not notice that.
yep.
Michael Chernus.
And Catherine Curtin.
Yep. So, but, I mean,
they're both pretty good.
Yeah. Pretty good actors.
I love George Basil, who played Marcus, like the redneck guy.
Yeah.
He's pretty funny.
It's like the meth head or something, drunk or whatever.
Yeah, Marcus and Gwen were like the couple that
always fought and everything.
And kind of rednecky.
But yeah, I think the only thing I wrote down for this movie was Mr. Rogers' quote.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah, like
Mr. Rogers.
It's good because it just sets the tone for the entire thing.
Yeah.
And just letting you know not to take it too seriously.
Yeah.
But I thought the acting was great. I thought Sam Richardson did great. His comedic timing is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
He plays a nice,
too nice for his own good.
Yeah, too nice for his own good kind of guy. And but yeah, I mean, great comedic timing. He's kind of like he's not too wacky. He's the least wacky out of everybody. So he's kind of like the straight man.
Movie because everyone else is
so batshit.
Yeah, their spectrum of personality. It's just off the charts for each of the residents.
Yeah, they're very. I mean, yeah, they're very much cartoon characters.
Yeah, very much.
But there's a lot of comedy mixed in with just the situation and using dialogue, and I mean, there's a lot of talking over each other.
Yeah.
In this. Which if you watch with the subtitles, you can kind of catch things that you won't hear, but it's like even the background dialogue track is pretty funny. So I imagine there's probably quite a bit of ad-lib.
Yes. If there's a flaw in the movie, I do think they kind of leaned a little bit too much on that for the comedy, the comedic aspect, like the ad-libbing of the situation. You could tell, like, I'm sure in the script it was just, somebody says something and then go.
Like murmurs.
Right.
Yeah.
Fill it in.
Yeah. Indistinguishable dialogue in the background.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
just do some ad-libbing.
Yep.
But I did like Sam Richardson's character. Was it Finn? Because you needed him to be like a guy you could kind of relate to or root for.
Yep.
Because everyone else was so absurdly over the top, with the exception of AT&T chick, Cecily Moore.
Yeah.
Those are the only 2 like straight-laced characters in the whole movie for the most part. Everyone else was kind of just odd.
Yeah, and just increasingly got odd throughout the entire movie. Yeah, I would say as far as things that... I mean, overall, I thought it was fine. It felt like something was missing. I don't know if it was just... I don't know. It felt maybe like it ended kind of abruptly, which, I mean, it is what it is, but I couldn't put my finger on it. Like, I felt like it needed something more, either because there's not really, I mean, Sam really doesn't get his character doesn't really get a character arc.
Not really.
In it for the most part. It's just kind of like, here's something weird that happens. And
to a nice person.
Yeah, to a nice person, and let's see it play out in weird ways.
You know what I thought? That... the centerpiece of the story is they're trying to build a gas line in between the town, and that's dividing the town. But I was like, well, there's no one else in the town, really. you get like the 10 or 12 main characters, and then you don't really see people in the background, or even when they go to the bar, there's no one like sitting like in a booth at the bar.
Yeah.
It's just those two. And everywhere they go, there's no town residents. So it didn't feel even slightly
fleshed
bigger.
out. Yeah.
It just felt like it was just these 12 people living in this town, and it didn't make sense. Like, okay, so it's dividing the town of 12 people. Like, if the state really wanted to build a gas pipeline, or a corporation wanted to, I'm sure they could handle a town of 12 people.
Yeah, they just shut it down and go.
Yeah.
The only thing I could think of is maybe it was like in the off season of something, wherever they were at. But
because they were all kind of staying in this bed and breakfast too, which didn't make sense. Like, don't you have your own houses?
Yeah, they all had their own houses, but they all went to the bed and breakfast because it required them to.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, just don't think too much. This is just where they're all gonna, congregate with each other and start distrusting each other.
Yeah, it's not a lot of people. It felt, I don't know. It just kind of felt like something was missing, but not so much to where I wasn't enjoying it.
No.
I think it was paced really well. It was shot, I think, pretty good. There's a couple of snow effects in there that I was just like, well, that's not real.
Yeah.
I think it was when Finn Wheeler, Sam Richardson's character, goes up to the cabin for the first time, and you see the snow falling, and I'm like, yeah, it's not real. I was like, it just kind of disappearing in the background once that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't collecting on his jacket, but that's nitpicky stuff.
Yeah. I do think that it's tough for these, like horror comedies are really tough because you have to lean more on the comedy or more on the horror. It's tough to strike that balance because there wasn't a lot of I would consider like scary horror moments. I wasn't really scared at all in the movie. Which maybe if they could have made it maybe a little terrifying, kind of, maybe it would have added an extra element to the movie. Like, Drag Me to Hell is a good example of.
Yeah, Sam Raimi tends to lean, I feel like, more into the horror.
Yes.
With some comedic elements, and then Edgar Wright tends to kind of. I think in like Shaun of the Dead, I mean, he leans more towards the comedy, but he follows the themes like so well, and he's like his scripts are so like meticulously written that I don't know. I would probably put him a little bit more towards the comedy than the horror. I would too. But yeah, I think if it had a little bit more suspense a little bit, just because it kind of felt like it was like the characters doing things were just kind of flying off the rails. Yeah. And really just not acting out of character, but it was just like, oh wow, everyone's nuts. But I mean, Cecilia, AT&T Girls, I think she had a line in there like, oh yeah, everyone in this town is nuts.
It's nuts, yeah.
And but no, I like the small things, like Guillermo. That's not his name.
Harvey Guillen. Joaquin.
Yeah, Joaquin.
It's Joaquin.
With an M. Joaquin.
Yep.
When he was talking to where he's like, oh, in Argentina, we kill the seventh born because they're a werewolf. And then Sicily says, well, God, I hope you're not still doing that. And then he just kind of brushes it off. And then once he finds out that she's the seventh born, he like goes to kill her immediately.
Yeah.
It's just, but it had like good, quick little lines like that. I think that kind of elevated it a little bit. That they just kind of like brush over super quickly.
Yep.
As far as mystery, they do lay like if you do pay attention to the dialogue, spoiler alert, Cecily is the werewolf, but they lay it in there at the beginning, and kind of plant those seeds to have it be, have it kind of make sense for the most part. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I thought it was fine.
Yeah, I think the drawback of having the comedic style like that, where it's more ad lib reactionary, it's I don't remember a ton of the jokey jokes. I do remember laughing, but I just don't remember. Like there's not a setup and then a build and then like a punchline. It's just reactionary stuff. So nothing really stands out where I'm like, oh, remember that part where they were saying this and this payoff happened. It's just like situational ad-libbing.
Yeah, there's no quotable lines.
Yes,
so, I mean, there are funny lines in it, but there's nothing that is highly constructed. Yeah, but yeah, you're right. There is a lot of just reacting comedy.
Yeah.
To where everyone's facial expressions or just their characters going off the deep end over something.
Yeah. I did like how the town was like a microcosm of the U.S., where you have like the right wing people saying like the hippies tore my sign down and shit. I think even the wife was like Antifa.
Yeah.
And then you have the the gay couple, the elitist East Coast people that think they're better than everybody else, and then the small business mom bed and breakfast lady with the husband who died. Did he die?
Yep.
Yeah,
he died.
Yeah. And then the corporate businessman trying to get the gas pump. I mean, so it was not. I saw what they were trying to do there, and then you have the nice guy, who plays like me or you.
Yep.
That's just thrown into this.
Yeah, the outsider.
Like, can we all just
kinda...
like calm the fuck down for a little bit and just like you said, be nice to each other.
I would say I liked it when they were kind of in the bed and breakfast when they went outside. Of course, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, if people were threatened or if they felt scared, they're like, no, screw this, I'm going home, would be the first thing that any sane person would do. Funny enough, I mean, that's what most people do after the first night. Because they're like, yeah, no, I'm not staying here. I'm going to go back home. But I kind of wish they kind of kept it in the bed and breakfast and have it be like a 10 Little Indians or some kind of like, who is it kind of a thing, to where you could almost do a play off The Thing.
Right.
In that kind of sense, to add a little bit more, I guess, horror into it to offset the comedy or to even boost the comedy to a point of the absurdity to where everyone just slowly loses their minds out of fear and everything else. Yep.
I like the libertarian woodsman guy. Like, just leave me alone. Don't trespass on my lawn. Like, he was a good character. Yeah, I mean, it was good. I mean, I didn't guess that Cecilia was the werewolf. I thought it was going to be Finn.
Oh, did you?
I thought it was going to be Finn, yeah. For sure.
I can't remember. Like, I didn't know. I thought it was either going to be Parker, the guy, the businessman who wanted to lay the pipeline. And I was like, oh, Cecily's kind of quiet. I thought it was Finn for a little bit, but he was just too, like, shocked even by himself of what the heck's going on, because you follow his character more than anyone else. Yeah. And I was like, well, I hope it's not Finn, because that'd be a cheap way to go about it.
That's true.
Especially since he's supposed to be the audience.
Wasn't it weird how they reacted to like just like dead bodies? Yeah. Like, oh, I ran across a dead body, and then it's just,
did we find the killer of my puppy? They're just so involved in their own shit. They don't care about anybody else. Yeah. But yeah, I think this was a quarantine movie as well.
Yeah, I think the production.
Yeah, it was like right
a month before.
Yeah, right before. Yeah. So I don't think they could do reshoots on this.
And maybe that's why the town was so sparse. They couldn't hire extras because of COVID restrictions.
Yeah, that could have been it too.
I don't know. So. That's the excuse that I would give if I were them. Yeah. It's like I couldn't hire anybody.
Yeah. Fucking COVID, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. But yeah, like back to the video game adaptation. I mean, would you consider, like, just because it's called Werewolves Within and it's loose, like very loosely related to, I'm sure, the game play and all that, like, I feel like it's just a good excuse to make like a whodunit movie. Yeah. With the horror.
Yeah. I mean, they could have named this anything else. Right. And no one would have known.
No one would have been
wiser. And hell, people, I mean, just seeing the movie, that they still have no clue, other than Ubisoft, they have no clue that this would come from a video game movie. So I guess technically, but I think the reason why it's higher rated, which I don't know if I touched on this in Uncharted or not. I probably did, because I say the same shit over and over.
You have original thoughts.
I do. And I stick to them, damn it. And I think why this movie was well rated is because not a lot of people probably played the game.
Probably.
And if they did play the game, they could watch this and still probably enjoy it. But one thing I'd be interested in is like, so they came out with Dungeons and Dragons, something Thieves,
Honor Among Things.
Yeah, and there is some friends that I know that do play Dungeons and Dragons. They enjoyed it because they have some of that aspect of gameplay in the movie, meaning people just making stupid decisions for the sake of making stupid decisions, and then Dungeon Master getting pissed off. So you have some characters in the movie just like doing kind of weird stuff, which I wonder if they kind of pulled from that experience. Because since I never played the game, I don't know if depending on your group of people, if players just start acting like really weird, trying not to make it seem like it's them or like it's someone else, and starting playing the blame game, to where I wonder if that was some of the reason why these characters just started acting batshit out of nowhere.
Gotcha.
Was because people who played the game tend to do that to try and throw people off. And
Gotcha.
And I imagine in the game it would probably get pretty humorous and stuff like that. So, but yeah, as far as video game adaptation, I wouldn't know how to judge it since I haven't played the game.
Maybe that's why it is so highly rated.
Yeah.
Because people weren't comparing it to the game that they love so much.
Yeah. And because you wouldn't know. And I would think most people who probably saw this weren't devout followers of the game.
Probably
unlike like Uncharted or Assassin's Creed or anything like that. Yeah. Because those movies are tougher, like especially movies or TV shows with massive followings. It would be harder to do an adaptation because so many players have played the game.
Yep.
And same reason as adapting a book to a film. It's a different medium, so you can do different things. That's why a lot of people, well, I like the book better because you read the book first. You're pretty much you're experiencing it with the character more so than what you would in a movie, and for the most part, and you can hear the character's thoughts, which brings you closer to the character. And I think that's kind of why people tend to like the books more than the movies. Obviously, there's more detail. You can do more things. But in the sake of video games, I think the hardest thing is that when people play video games, it's a first-person experience. And you kind of... It's another form of escapism, but it's more of an involved form of escapism, to where movies are more passive. Video games, you actually have an effect on the outcome. Yep. And you kind of feel the stress, or you feel the tension as you play the game, whatever that game may be. And then when you go to watch the movie, you're not going to feel the exact same thing for the most part. And I think that's why video game adaptations typically
fall flat
or quote unquote fail in the eyes of fans. And because that's who they're targeting. They're fans of those games to come see that kind of movie. But if they're it'd be very, very hard to deliver that immersive value that you get from a video game and transport it to a movie.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
So I think the reason why I think a lot of people probably just aren't unaware that this is a video game,
yeah.
And they've watched
like
the
me.
movie. Yeah. So, yeah, when you asked, they're like, oh, we should talk about this. I've never heard of it.
Yeah, me either. Yeah. It's a good find. Mm-hmm. It's a nice surprise.
Yeah. It's shot like a movie. It feels like a movie.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't feel like a Netflix movie.
No.
That just, every once, like, they called Tyrone was awesome, but
yeah.
Or they cloned Tyrone was awesome, but I just watched Heart of Stone, the Gal Gadot movie, and that just felt like Red Notice Part 2. Like everything was cliche. It felt like they just took pieces of scripts.
Yep.
And like, oh, this is what a character would say, and it was just very cliche dialogue. And it was just lazy.
Yeah, like Red Notice felt like a movie where the actors just had an excuse to just work and hang out with each other.
Stand in front of a green screen.
And then a movie just kind of farted its way out.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of Netflix movies feel like.
But no, this feels like a real movie. Like people actually, the lighting's great in it. And that's the thing. Like at the beginning, you have like it's fairly brightly lit because it's daylight and everything else. But as the movie progresses, like the lighting and everything is a horror style lighting. But it looks great. It's shot well.
I thought the bed and breakfast looked great. Mm-hmm. There's a big, huge, creepy looking building. I thought I know this budget wasn't very big, but in terms of the werewolf transformation, I thought it was pretty decent for.
Yeah.
I mean, the budget wasn't very big, but it was still pretty good. And I know if you want to see werewolves, I mean, you'll see one for about 2 minutes, and that's about it.
Yeah.
So if you're a big werewolf fan, you won't see a lot of them in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, you won't.
But you'll see it in the end.
Yep. So.
Yeah.
Well, do you have anything else?
No.
This?
I mean, if you got a Hulu account, watch it. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that long of a movie. It's not a 3-hour run time.
No.
So, but yeah, it's fun. It's funny. Goofy characters.
I recommend it.
Yeah, I do too. It's a good time. So, all right. Well, join us next time.
Yes.
As we come to grips with our lack of relevance as we review and discuss Wes Anderson's 2004 film, The Life Aquatic, with Steve Zissou.
How many people do you think have seen this?
What, this movie?
This movie, Life Aquatic.
Oh, quite a bit.
Oh, you think so?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, like what kind of people? Like people, like
just people in general.
I think people our age, probably quite a bit.
Okay.
Not the majority.
Right.
But I think anyone who is into movies in the mid to early 2000s has seen it. Obviously, anyone who likes Wes Anderson has seen it. But this was, I feel like this was, it was like this and the Royal Tenenbaums. This is when he was still, they were still releasing it in theaters. They release all of his movies in theaters, but I remember this being billed as just a comedy with Bill Murray.
Yeah.
And like that was the main draw. So I imagine a lot of people probably have seen this.
Yeah.
And obviously Wes Anderson films, I don't know, but I think quite a few people.
Okay.
So at least 10.
Hopefully, yeah. The tens of listeners that we have, they've seen it.
You better.
Yeah.
You got homework. So, yeah, you can rent it on Amazon if you don't own it, or if you'd like to see the Criterion Blu-ray version.
Do you have that one?
Yes, I do.
Ooh.
Slide into my DMs and maybe I'll let you borrow it.
Ooh.
Depending on where you are and what your house looks like. Because
you don't want like fingerprints and
no fingerprints,
like
no dog chewing or toddlers drawing on it. And
yeah.
No, absolutely not.
That's all. It's everyone that listens.
So, but yeah, you can rent it on Amazon. It's like $3 if you want to watch it and you haven't seen it before we talk about it next week. So,
till next time, Jay.
Till next time, Matt.